You want to introduce the people?
No.
I
know where my strengths lie.
Your strengths not lying in headers or footers? All right,
no.
What's going on? This is the first episode of the Cine Men. Which is
you love saying it that way, don't you?
I do. How else would you say it?
Cine Men, which is what I was thinking of when we came up with it. But I
Cine
guess,
Men.
no, paprika, cinnamon. I guess it makes sense.
It makes perfect sense.
We're just going to be an offshoot of the Food Network. We just won't tell them.
We're
spicy. That's what this is.
Exactly.
We're just adding a little bit of flavor,
culture nourishment.
Yes.
Yeah. There you go. I'm Daryl. I'm Seed.
I'm Douglas.
We are. This is the all film related podcast, man. We're doing a little bit talking about films of various natures and such and all that kind of good stuff. For our first episode, the wonderful Doug here suggested that since we are halfway through the year of 2018.
Yes, 2018. Not to be confused with any other year. It is 2018.
Possibly other universes, but not other years. We're going to do our top 3 movies of 2018 so far that we have really rocked out with. And then on the back end of that, we're also going to do the 3 movies that we're looking forward to for the rest of the year moving forward. Good idea, Doug. It's a good idea.
Thank you for acknowledging that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you were like, let's do this. And I was like, oh, well, that was deceptively simple. Why didn't I think of that?
Where it's just using my strengths, which is the fact it's, a new month. It is July 1st after all.
Yes.
So let's go with the easy layup for the first show.
Yeah.
Just stretch the muscles, then get into the, the harder stuff for the second episode.
10, we're going to map out Primer.
Oh, God. We're going to end up like Charlie Day and
it's
just everywhere. Strings. It's all connected. I cannot imagine what went into planning that movie in the storyboard process. Not even in the script process, but in the storyboard process to get all of that done.
I imagine of the interviews that they did, or of anybody that was interviewed for that movie, that was probably their number one question: is how the fuck do you come up with something like this?
Yeah, and if you're listening to this and you're not familiar with Primer, it's a very low budget indie film dealing with time travel. Mm-hmm. Watch it.
Yes.
Watch it.
Watch it.
You're going to get a lot of recommendations from this show. We stand by all of them. Even the ones that you disagree with completely, we stand by them.
That's the whole point. That's the whole reason I created Paprika, was to get shit out there that people might not know about.
Yeah.
I think you find new stuff that way, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, 2018, man, 3 films that we've really enjoyed so far. We're just going to go 3, 2, 1?
Sure, let's do it.
All right, then I'll kick it off. Number 3, for me, Black Panther. Black Panther came, I'm not going to say came out of nowhere. It was bubbling under the surface for years for me. And for a lot of people that I know, like, something is going to hit, and when it hits, it's going to hit big. Mm-hmm. And it just made sense that the machine that is MCU happened to be the one that pulled that slot lever at the right time. And it hit big. I mean, people love Blade. Blade was the dopeness. And we were like, oh, shit, African-American dudes getting their shine up in here. And then we just been craving something like that ever since. Mm-hmm. Black Panther provided that with quality and actual love and affection for source material. I think it succeeded everybody's expectations. I don't think MCU knew what they had on their hands. I think that they were absolutely right in dropping it in February. I'm sure that was a very planned tactic. Like you dropped some shit like that in Black History Month.
Yeah.
But just everything that went into that movie was, you could see that there was love and care and respect that was in there. What did you think about Black Panther?
Black Panther, it's not in my top 3. It's certainly at the moment in my top 10 for 2018. In fact, it's probably, I think, let me confirm. Yep, it's number 10. Okay. So I agree with the thoughtfulness that went into that film. There is a level of detail and care, as you put it, that went into Black Panther, and I honestly think it was one of the smartest decisions, whomever the powers that be are that made this, whether it's Kevin Feige or not, that everybody that touched that movie was of African American descent or from Africa.
Yes.
From the set designers, the director, obviously Ryan Coogler, but the costumes, the music that went into it, everybody had something to do with that culture and had a very unique but also precise view of how it should look and sound. And one of the things that I loved hearing about when I first saw it in theaters, and unfortunately I only got to see it once, there was a lot for me to take in. It's not part of my culture, it's not part of my community. And that's one of the reasons why I loved it, because sitting in the theater and seeing all of these people, some of which were dressed in what I assume was garb from their community, this meant something. This was a moment. Mm-hmm. And watching that, all I could sit back and just be in awe of it and just loving that. I can't imagine how that must have felt. So far, all I've gotten is the new version of The Flash with a throwaway line about him being Jewish, and I was like, yay! So I can't imagine what Black Panther felt like, but I think it really goes to, did you hear about Trevor Noah and his reaction?
What was his reaction?
Trevor Noah, being from South Africa, I believe, he's the voice of Shura's computer.
No way.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
I know. And it's one of those things where, like Rob Zombie being the voice of the computer in Guardians, you hear it and you go, okay, it's a voice. But once you know it's Rob Zombie, you're like, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
And Trevor gets more dialogue than Rob Zombie certainly did. But Trevor was watching the movie and there was a dialect someone was using that is native, I think, to his mother.
Okay.
And apparently in this interview that he was giving, he was like, I don't need some. I know this. Yeah. This is my language. I don't need any of this other stuff. And I can only imagine what that feels like, that kind of representation. Because you mentioned Blade, but there were a lot of white dudes involved in that.
Yes.
From the writing to the direction.
To Chris Christopherson.
Absolutely. And I mean, you had Guillermo del Toro doing the second one, but still, Blade opened a door for a lot of this stuff. But Black Panther, I would say, destroyed it and really sort of gave a community what they needed.
I'm hoping it waylaid, or at least temporarily staved off, what I deem as the cycle of African American movies.
Okay.
They come out a lot of times with a movie that's full of black actors, generally fairly low budget. Low budget means low production value. People want to see good production value, so these movies don't get seen a lot. Mm-hmm. And then they use these box office returns to justify another low budget for the next one. So it's just a perpetual cycle of, well, it's not making a lot of money, so we need to spend a lot of money. And it's just over and over and over and over again. And I'm hoping that we will start to see more Black Panthers and more things like that of this type of nature moving forward.
One can only hope. That's one of the biggest problems with this, is that there's not usually been anything like it. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite movies as a kid. You ever see The Meteor Man?
Unfortunately.
You say unfortunately, and from your perspective,
Robert Townsend?
Yep.
Yeah.
And what I was just checking is he wrote and directed it, and I imagine he did that because there hadn't been anything like that.
Right.
And there needed to be something. And one of the things that I loved about this movie, growing up, I was familiar with the musicians that were in it. I was familiar with the actors that were in it. Mm-hmm. Believe it or not, I grew up on 227 and The Cosby Show. Yeah. So I'm watching this and going, oh, I know all these people.
Yeah.
And a very young Don Cheadle in that movie. And it's an underrated film. I own the DVD. I stand by it. But it also goes to what you were talking about with, sort of the low production value. Mm-hmm. And granted, I don't know what his budget was. He did everything he possibly could with it. And in '93, when that movie was released, it was a big deal.
Yeah.
Just from how it looked. I don't know how it was received in theaters because I was, maybe 12 when it came out. But I agree with you. Can only hope that the standards stay high.
Yeah, can only hope. For better things moving forward. What's your number 3, sir?
My number 3 is a film that right now is on Netflix. It's a Netflix original. I forget if it had screened at Tribeca first or which festival, but a movie called Kodachrome by Mark Rasso. Okay. It's Ed Harris, Jason Sudeikis, and Elizabeth Olsen in the prime roles.
I scrolled right by it the other day.
Ooh.
After you told me, I was like, that sounds familiar, and I kept scrolling because I'm an idiot.
No. It's the kind of film that, because it's a Netflix original, people assume it's lower quality. Mm-hmm. And so I don't blame you for scrolling past, not even a little bit. And the trick is most folks, and this is an issue going on in the entertainment industry at large, that if it's not shown in a theater, it's not cinema. No. That's like saying that if television isn't on a major broadcast, it's not television. And HBO would say it's not TV, it's HBO, because that's their big line. But you've got original programming on streaming services. DC is about to come out with their subscription service. Mm-hmm. That's going to be television. And so with Netflix, they're taking chances on films that may not do well in theater, but cinephiles will go wherever movies are. That's why we've got Filmstruck, it's why we've got Shudder, it's why we've got all these other ones.
Yep.
And Kodachrome, what stood out for me with that is it's very different from Expectations.
Okay.
It's a story about an estranged father and son. The son is in the music industry and finding himself being pushed out. The father is a world-renowned photographer who doesn't use digital.
Okay.
He uses film. And he uses a process known as Kodachrome to develop those photos. And inspired by the real-life shutting down of Kodachrome processing and the individuals that were coming from all around the world to go to this city to develop their film at the last plant doing it, this film comes out and use that as its basis. But where you're expecting a resolution or stories to take certain turns because it's a family drama, they actually sidestep some of that in very clever ways. And what really stood out in addition to that is the cinematography, where you expect the directorial focus to be on images, for example. It's more on the actors. And by following the actors, it's more about holding in the moments, much in the way that photography wants you to hold in the moment.
One particular moment.
Exactly. Yeah. And I found it incredibly impactful. It's not going to be for everybody. It may not impact people the same way as it did for me, and I don't expect it to. But it did something where it stayed with me. And for me, and I saw a look on your face, Black Panther's number 3. For me, it's number 10. And I think for me, it's because as wonderful of a film as I found it to be, and all of my top whatever are sorted by ratings. So Kodachrome got a 4.5, Black Panther got a 4.5. But it didn't resonate with me in the same way that this one did.
Okay.
So I just want to be clear, Black Panther is a hell of a movie, and in rewatching it, I'm still learning and catching new things, stuff that I missed, and it's really wonderful. And with Kodachrome, for me, that's why it became my number 3. Is because there was just something in the technique that resonated so greatly with me. Highly recommend it.
Dope. All right, excellent. So my number 2, I've been waffling on this. Annihilation.
All right.
Annihilation is, oh my god, anyone knows me knows I'm a huge lover of all things sci-fi. And it is very rare that we get good sci-fi that's not, lasers and spaceships flying around, right? That's all good shit. I'm a huge fan of the rebooted Star Treks. Obviously, I love Star Wars and all that kind of good stuff. But every once in a while, I just want a good, deep, hard sci-fi type film. We get maybe 1 or 2 a year. That's about all you get. And then you get shit like Jupiter Ascending.
Okay. That movie deserves the critiques that it gets, but the Wachowskis, they have a very unique vision, and I want more of that vision. They have some originality that sci-fi needs. No. Keep going about Jupiter Ascending. I'm with you.
I hate the movie. I knew I was not going to like it, but I still paid money to try and make sure that it made money, specifically for what you said, to make sure that we keep getting new and original sci-fi, especially from the Wachowskis. You talk about deep, hard-rooted sci-fi. They made The Matrix. And I think they did a damn good job with Cloud Atlas, regardless of a lot of other people think.
Thank you!
I fucking love Cloud Atlas.
And
it's a great soundtrack, too. But Annihilation, it was that movie it's wonderful. It is fucking wonderful. It looks great. It's creepy. It's tense. Scream there still to this day. I was actively eyeballing the exit when Scream there, and I was probably like a good minute and a half away from just like, I'm out of here. But I managed to power through it. Natalie Portman has always been respected as a good actress. She's never been a favorite of mine, mostly because I see her more in big blockbuster stuff, which is where she does not shine. She's not great in Star Wars prequels. She's not great in the Thor movies. But you scale back and you give a Black Swan or you give an Annihilation. I think that's her home right there. The smaller roles. But this one, she brought the thunder, and I think every woman in that movie brought the thunder.
Yeah.
I think I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 was my final rating. Oscar Isaac does a lot with the little screen time he's given. It is going to be somewhere in my top 5 of the year. I'm just not sure where yet.
Interesting. Didn't even crack my top 17, which pains me. I was actually talking about this with my wife just yesterday, actually, because I love Alex Garland.
Yes, I want more Alex Garland.
Yes, absolutely. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see Annihilation in the theater, but I was so excited for it. I wanted to see it, and his work with Dredd. I love watching Dredd. The fact that apparently he's uncredited with some of the direction on that. Ex Machina is unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like the fact that currently it's beating 2001 Space Odyssey in the Paprika. That's not how this was supposed to happen.
Well, to be fair to those folks, 2001 is still on my list of shame, so having not seen it, I can't vote for it. So you may have people that saw one and not the other, and that's why it's shaking out that way. However, I'm about to come upon about 2 weeks of not teaching between sessions, so I am hoping to get to 2001. Oh yeah. We were talking before the podcast about the Criterion sale that's going on. I'm planning to finally get to Seven Samurai and the Seventh Seal at that point.
Yes.
Need to get that done. So, for me, I think with Annihilation was the fact that it had been built up so much, and I watched it home. Gorgeous movie, fantastic performances. There was plenty to talk about.
Plenty.
But where people were talking about how it sat with them and they couldn't stop thinking about it and everything else, did not have that.
Really?
And that doesn't mean I don't plan on revisiting at some point. I think my wife and I used to before our son was born, and he's getting close to an age where maybe we can do it again. We'll just put him to bed first. But we used to do horror movies or sci-fi, something fitting with the October month. Yeah. And I think Annihilation would work with that, particularly because the name is used to explain the thing of self-destruction. Yeah. I have thoughts about that film, and I think it would fit really well in there. So I don't discount it, and I totally get why it resonates with people. It didn't.
I
just didn't work for me.
Matineed that movie, I think, the week it came out, and if I can get one of the 10-something showings, and it's early enough in the day, I don't have anything going on, I'll just check and see what else is coming out. I'm like, let me get a ticket for a 12 o'clock show too while I'm here. That's what I planned on doing. I walked out of Annihilation like, I gotta get the fuck out of there. I gotta go home. I bought the Blu-ray the other day, watched the special features. I haven't sat down and watched the movie, and just the special features just had me going through all the stuff.
They're really cool, those special features.
Yes.
The stuff that they talk about in the design work and everything else.
Yeah.
It's really cool. We did do that. We finished watching it and it was like, wait a second, let's go through some of this.
Yeah.
What
you got for your number 2, sir?
My number 2 goes in a completely different direction.
Okay.
Mine is far more terrestrial. Okay. It's a movie called Hearts Beat Loud by Brett Haley. It features Nick Offerman, Kiersey Clemens, Toni Collette, Ted Danson, and Blythe Danner in a smaller role, as well as Sasha Lane, for those of you that saw American Honey. It's a much smaller film. There's a lot of stuff about American Honey that was really good. I didn't really dig it. A lot of people did. Sasha Lane's in it. She'd been a previous unknown, and a lot of the actors in American Honey had been. And so Sasha's been doing some little work, and she's in this as well. Hearts Beat Loud, I believe, came out June 8th and has been doing a slow rollout. It's a smaller film where Annihilation, your number 2, is a small film on a large scale.
Yeah.
Because you've got these large concepts of identity, of
Cancer.
creation, self-destruction that's going on in Annihilation. In Hearts Beat Loud, it's actually much smaller and still incredibly complex.
Okay.
Father and daughter. Daughter is pre-med, getting ready to move from Red Hook to LA.
Okay.
She is taking pre-med classes right before she goes, and he runs a record store that he's about to close down because it's just not making the rent anymore. And he and his daughter, they would do jam sessions from time to time, and as the story goes, they haven't done one in a while, and he sort of encourages her to sort of finish her homework, let's go jam, and using her potential lyrics, they craft a song.
Okay.
And he enjoys it so much he puts it on Spotify, and all of a sudden it ends up on an indie playlist and things just start moving. But it's about the music, but it's not about the music. It's about her moving on, but it's also about him moving on.
Okay.
And it's about how they use the music to do that. And it all culminates in we'll call it a concert, where they perform 3 songs that you're sort of hearing about throughout the film. And I couldn't help but dance.
Okay.
In my seat, jumping around. I had the song stuck in my head. Getting the CD through Amazon, it's a 1 to 2 month wait.
Really?
But I ordered it a couple of days ago. It should be here the second week of July, so I'm excited about that. Can't find it in stores. I like having physical content because then I can make digital copies of that. And if my computer crashes, I've still got a CD.
Yeah, the backup.
So if the internet goes out, I've still got a CD.
Why I still buy Blu-rays.
There you go. Same idea. And there's just something really wonderful. It is joyful without being naive. It is overflowing with a sort of bittersweet happiness that you will still be in a good mood when you leave. And it has the kind of love story in it that it's about a father and a daughter, but it's about the daughter finding love herself, about finding out who she is while he's finding out really who he is and what he wants. And I despite all the wonderful things I'd heard about it with Annihilation, I heard the same thing, and unfortunately I think I held Annihilation up too high, and so I couldn't quite get there. But Hearts Beat Loud, I was expecting something really great, and it was even more wonderful.
Okay.
And again, it has to do with sort of the mindset and whatever that you go into with the film. But I was really excited to watch it, and I'm watching it and going, okay, but then they start doing the music, and I'm grinning from ear to ear, and I'm sort of dancing in the seat every time they play one. And particularly the song Everything Must Go. The titular song, Hearts Beat Loud, it's great, but Everything Must Go. I want to listen to it all the time. Keegan DeWitt, who's the composer for it, he does an amazing job with the music, and Kiersey Clemens and Nick Offerman, who played the father and daughter, they're the ones singing the songs, playing instruments.
Oh, okay.
You buy into it.
Yeah.
So, highly recommend.
Hearts Beat Loud.
Hearts Beat Loud.
And everybody knows what my number one is. That goes without saying at all. It's the Infinity War! It is Avengers Infinity War. A culmination of 10 years worth of work. I mean, I respect the fact that it is a very good and enjoyable film. I respect more because something like this has not been done before. It is a culmination of 10 years of mostly successes in a subgenre that people seem determined to claim has already burst, and it's already on the decline, which I think this proves that that's not the case at all.
A little bit.
And little 2 billions of bit. I predict maybe in the next 10 years that will be the case. But we're riding at the top of the wave now, I do believe. It's what... Walking into a movie knowing what's going to happen kind of takes away from some of the awesomeness. Not in this case! Everybody who's read the Infinity Gauntlet or knows what Thanos is about knew that the snap was going to happen. I knew the snap was going to happen at the end, and of course they got like an extra 10 minutes to kind of wrap things up before credits, but effectively it's the end. Knew all that going in. Knowing how the ending was, I was very content with how they got there, and just seeing characters that have their own established franchises meet up, being like, "Oh, we finally get to see Doctor Strange and Iron Man on screen," and that did not go how I thought it was going to go. And
not a single Sherlock joke. Wasted opportunity.
Not a single Sherlock joke. Also, their interaction was much more terse than I thought it was going to be. Mm-hmm. I was not expecting that. But when I got it, I was like, oh, it does kind of actually make sense. I think Tom Holland brought his A game on this movie more than he did in Spider-Man: Homecoming. And it is a lot of people were shortchanged in this. I was not too upset because I fully expect those people to have their shine in Avengers 4. I think by the end of both movies, there'll be a nice balance of screen time and development amongst all of the major players. It's just what I thought it would be. It was amazingly done. It was ambitious as shit, and I thought they stuck the landing on it. And shout out to the Russos for juggling a cast of that size, and on back-to-back shootings, which is a grueling process. It has to be. Yeah, it is what I thought it would be, and I loved every second of it. What about you, sir? What did you think about Infinity War?
I agree with you. Absolutely loved it. It is in the top 10. It's actually number 9, right?
On the cusp.
It's slightly above Black Panther. No, I agree with you completely. There's a lot of folks that do say that the superhero bubble, it's burst. People are getting superhero fatigue, et cetera, et cetera. Except here's the difference. Sure, people go, and there's plenty of them that go, you know what, it's another superhero movie. Do I really need to go to it? And those people may not see it, but this isn't for them. Oh. Infinity War, I would say, is akin to the first Avengers film.
Yes.
The first Avengers film was the work of, about 5 movies?
Yep.
Prior to its release, and this was the first time we got these characters on screen. In a movie that, even though it came out in, 2012?
Yep.
It still holds up. Everything about that movie, from beginning to end, still holds up. And I suspect the same thing's going to happen with Infinity War. It's a lot to take in the first time you watch it. You almost have to watch it more than once in order to catch everything that's going on, the interactions and everything. Mm-hmm. I agree with you about the performances. I agree with you about the characters, some of which got more attention than others. I think everybody wanted Civil War to be wrapped up in this movie. No way you can do that. No. There is no way you can do that. However, I agree with you that whatever the next one is, whatever Part 2 or Avengers 4 is, that's where we're going to get that resolution for the first 3 phases.
Yeah.
Because this is about taking this 19 films of storytelling and bringing them all together. And it's something we haven't seen before, I agree with you. It's something that's been unprecedented with this number of characters. And it does every character that gets screen time justice. Mm-hmm. And yeah, to hear that people were sitting around going, wait, that's how it ends? What? What the heck? Freaking out about it. It speaks to the emotional investment people have in these characters. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter if you know that a Black Panther 2 is coming. It doesn't matter that we know that Spider-Man is getting another movie and that it's called Far From Home. We don't know what the hell that means, but we know that it's called that.
And they just announced Doctor Strange, too.
Absolutely. So we know that these movies are coming. We know that. Why? Because they're based on comic book characters that have decades of stories to tell.
Yeah.
So we know that. And for people that went, well, we know they're coming back. People got really upset for a reason. You can't watch, as you put it, Tom Holland's performance and not have your heart break.
You know, but when you're caught up in that wave in that second,
yep.
Yeah, you're not thinking about, well, it's Spider-Man 2. You think about that shit like maybe on the walk to the car later.
Yep.
That moment, when that music is swelling or whatever is happening, you're just like, but no, he doesn't feel too good right now. And then, yeah.
Yeah, it's you wouldn't have the memes that are going around everywhere with, I don't feel so good, Mr. Toys R Us, Jeffrey the Giraffe, right? Before the podcast, we were talking about HeroCon that just came through Charlotte. Someone was actually selling little salt bottles. Do not open until Avengers 4. My heart broke all over again.
Yeah.
No, I totally get why it's your number 1. I absolutely get why it's your number 1, and it deserves to be on a number 1 spot. It's a
on the money raked in number 1 spot.
Yeah, it is
for this year, anyways.
Yeah, and it's going to hold up. I mean, I've already pre-ordered it. I've got to see it twice in the theater. I can't wait to rewatch it again. My son would enjoy the movie, but even though he wouldn't understand the ending, I'm still not waiting to show that to him until he's seen the other ones and can get the context for it. But I can't wait to rewatch that movie.
That is the first movie I ever took my son to. Because when I lived in Maryland, when I had to go to my next station in Korea, he was 3. Still young, a little too young to take the theater. Mm-hmm. And then every time I come visit him, we've just gone and done other stuff.
Yeah.
And this one, I was like, I'm taking you to go see this movie. And he was like, I cannot wait for this. And right where they live at is right down the street is a dollar theater. So pretty much what they do is just wait until it's a dollar theater and they just go right down the street. Yeah. I was like, no. We're going to the big fancy theater. All right, we're going to sit in the big fancy reclining seats. We're going to get the whole experience with our giant buckets of popcorn.
Nice.
And so for me, that will always be something that ties to my love of that movie. That is the first movie I was able to take my son to. And then on the way back home, he was just like, this was a great night. And I was like, you know what? It was a pretty cool night.
Yeah.
Your number one, sir.
My number one goes in a different direction.
Okay.
Where your number one is about flights of fancy and superheroes and absolute complete fiction.
Yes.
Mine, on the other hand, is American Animals by Bart Layton. It's his feature debut. Mm-hmm. If you're not familiar with American Animals, it's okay. To call it a documentary would be a lie.
Okay.
To say that it's a true story would be a lie.
A docudrama?
Sort of.
Okay.
So in 2014, I believe, is when this happened. But four young men went to the Transylvania University Library in Kentucky and robbed it.
Robbed the library.
They robbed the library because there was a series of books that were highly valuable, over $12 million. And they wanted to rob it and then sell the books. Try to claim it as they'd inherited these things. They don't know the value, blah, 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 blah,
yeah.
blah. And what's fascinating about this film is it's told two ways. They have a cast here. It's Evan Peters for your American Horror Stories, your new X-Men, Quicksilver, absolutely. Barry Keoghan, I think is his name, from Dunkirk. He had a small role in that, but a very effective one. He was in
Dunkirk looked the same.
What's that?
Everybody in Dunkirk looked the same.
Yeah. He's the kid in the boat sequence who gets the head injury. So a very minor role. But if you've seen Dunkirk, you know what I'm talking about. We can discuss it later.
Okay.
It's got Blake Jenner, who has a smaller role in this, as one of the four men. He comes in late. But he is fantastic. He has a scene where he gives the most blistering monologue to another character where just all the weight of everything just hits you, and it's so fantastic. Jared Abrahamson is another role. He actually plays Eric Borshik, one of the four men, who I believe wrote a book that was the inspiration for this.
Okay.
But, so you got these four actors, and they're telling the story. They're reenacting, if you will. Just like, Hidden Figures. We've got this great cast in there telling us this story. Except, there are interviews spliced with the four men, as well as other people that were involved. Mm-hmm. And from time to time, when the actors are giving you this story and they're going through these scenes, reenacting, what have you, the interviews will contradict what's happening. Mm-hmm. And in at least one scene, Evan Peters, who's playing Warren Sipka, is in a shot with Warren, and the two of them are going back and forth about, well, did it happen this way or that way?
Yeah. Okay.
And so there's this blending of what the truth is. Mm-hmm. And so rather than having a documentary that says, these four men, they went and did this, and blah. Mm-hmm. There's actually a question of reality.
Okay.
And it works for some. I've spoken to a few folks that have seen it, and it just didn't work for them. They found it a little bit distracting or what have you. Whereas we were talking about a movie about making movies.
Yeah.
When you have four kids that are watching Ocean's 11, they're watching Fargo, they're watching all of these other heist movies and criminal films, they're watching Thief.
Yeah.
And trying to draw inspiration from it. And you're having them talk out, okay, how are we going to do this? And they're dressed in suits while a little less conversation by Elvis is playing in the background. And they're walking in, George Clooney, Ocean's 11 style. I was just like, I'm buying all of this. No matter how bad it gets for these guys, I was really taken in by it.
Okay.
And for me, it's my number one because it was so unexpected.
All right.
I was expecting it to play one way, and sometimes to have a film subvert those expectations,
Yeah.
whatever they are. And I try to go into any film, whether the less I've known about it, the better, I don't know, but sort of going, all right, what is this experience going to be? Having no expectations other than here, it's based on a true story. I was blown away by the approach.
Okay.
Performances are fantastic. Screenplay is fantastic. Highly recommend.
Boom. There you go. Well, now to flip all that, 3 films, sir, that you are most looking forward to for the rest of the year. How about you kick it off?
Sure. The first one, and trying to figure out 3 films, just 3, just 3, was probably one of the hardest things that I think you have ever asked of me. Because there's so many films that are coming out that I'm really excited for. Christopher Robin, I'm really excited for. The Spy Who Dumped Me, I'm really excited for. A Simple Favor. There's also Kin, I'm really excited about that. Assassination Nation, I'm excited about. Just saw a trailer for that and I went, what?
Yeah.
It comes with a trigger warning. But I think for me, in no particular order, Bohemian Rhapsody. Bohemian Rhapsody is one that I'm incredibly excited for. In fact, all of my 3 are in November.
Really?
All of my 3. But starting with Bohemian Rhapsody, I grew up listening to all kinds of music. My mom listened to more Motown and classic rock. My dad listened to jazz. So I grew up with all these different influences. But Queen really stuck with me. And I grew up watching Flash Gordon and Highlander, so of course, soundtracks of my life. And Rami Malek being cast. Granted, I would have loved to have seen Sacha Baron Cohen's performance when he was originally attached to the biopic. But Rami Malek is going to be fantastic. I'm really curious about their approach to telling the story. There's been some rumblings of concern because the initial trailer doesn't really seem to acknowledge his contraction of AIDS and his involvement in the gay community, and instead focuses on more him and a woman. But he had a very close relationship with a woman whose name unfortunately is slipping my mind.
Yeah.
And they had a very significant relationship. He loved women, he loved men, but that wasn't all of who he was. So I'm really hoping it's not going to be a let's put Freddie Mercury in the best light. I really want it to be a biopic that tells the story.
Freddie Mercury biopic, or is it a Queen biopic?
As I understand it, it is a Queen biopic, but I suspect being Freddie's influence on the music industry and his, what's the best way to put this? His vision, his way of approaching music sort of shaped what Queen did. Because all the surviving members of Queen are phenomenal musicians who still tour with Adam Lambert as their lead.
Yeah.
But Freddie was a unique voice, which some attributed to his very unique teeth. But he also had a way with music. The fact that Bohemian Rhapsody itself, people went, this can't play on the radio.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, it will.
Yeah, well. And that movie is a film.
Yeah. So I'm hopeful that it's going to be, while it may use Freddie as the inroad, I'm really hopeful that it'll be about them as a whole.
Yeah.
And that it'll be truthful to Freddie, as opposed to a happy Hollywood holiday film. I really wanted to get into it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that too. Seeing Rami Malek move around as Freddie Mercury with way more swagger than he deserves.
Yep.
I think he's going to bring some justice to that role.
Look forward to it.
One of the ones I'm looking forward to, I didn't order mine anyway, is Black Klansman. Yes. I think Black Klansman. I'm still not sure what genre of movie this is. I went back and I watched the trailers the other day, and I'm like, is this a comedy? A drama? A dramedy? I'm not exactly sure what it is, but I think they've got teaser trailers out, and that's about it. I don't think they've done a second trailer for it. I like what I see. In fact, it's based off a true story. I find absolutely insane that someone would have the gumption just to take on the KKK as their number one enemy. Like, knowing me in that day, I'd have been like, I'm just trying to avoid them at all costs. I would not be trying to actively take them down in any community in the U.S. And the fact that someone just like, fuck it, I'm going to infiltrate over the phone as a white dude, and then we'll send in Adam Driver to actually do the required physical stuff, and him as a Jewish person. So he's got skin in the game.
Yep.
Directed by Spike Lee, who has kind of fallen off for me recently. I think this is on the path to getting him back on the map. I cannot wait for Black Klansman.
No, I agree with you completely, and I can't wait for that one to come out. I think the last, and I haven't checked this, but I think the last two things he's done is Chirac, which was a great modern reinterpretation of Lysistrata, and he, I know, directed John Leguizamo's HBO special production of Ghetto Clown, which was also fantastic. But I agree with you. There's just been... We're at a time where we need Spike Lee's voice. We need his vision. We need his voice. And I agree with you. I don't know what kind of movie Black Klansman's going to be either. But whatever it is, it's already winning awards. I cannot wait to get it in my eyeballs.
Yes. I need an apology for Old Boy. That's what
I forgot about Old Boy. Yeah, I'm not watching that.
I didn't.
Not watching that.
I refuse. I will never watch that movie.
Yeah.
I love Josh Brolin, but we did not need a American remake of Old Boy.
No. And that, by the way, can be an entire topic that we could discuss of American remakes that we did not need. And if anybody is listening to this and has some pull with the Train to Busan remake, shut that shit down.
Yes,
because
we don't need that either.
the weight of that movie, particularly the way that it ends, is very unique to that culture, and the American version of that is not going to be anything like what the original is, and there's a reason. We talked about it before with my viewpoint. For instance, with Black Panther is going to be different than yours, different than other people's, because I'm not part of that community.
All right.
Yeah, we don't need an American version of that. We didn't need it with Old Boy either.
Nope, sure
and
didn't.
I wasn't going to give my money to that.
Excellent. What do you got? Your second looking forward to?
My second one coming out is actually on the same day as Bohemian Rhapsody. It's going to be a really rough week, and I haven't even looked at my calendar yet, but I'm guessing I'm going to be grading speeches during that time too. So I'm going to hate my life when I go to the theater. But the remake of Suspiria.
Nope.
See, normally I'm with you. I don't even have Hereditary, for example, on my list of films right now because I really wanted to see Hereditary. A24 does amazing films.
Love A24.
It doesn't matter if they're big films with big casts or small films with smaller casts. They try things, and so if A24 releases something, I'm interested in it. And Hereditary came out, and I saw the trailers for it, and I went, nope.
That's exactly what I did.
This is a movie that when it comes out on DVD, I will watch in the middle of the day. Blinds open, lights on. My wife sitting next to me, my son loudly playing with a toy next to me, so that I can go all distractions possible, so that I can watch the movie and yet somehow feel safe. Okay. So I totally get that feeling when you think of Suspiria. But here's the interesting thing, for me anyway, from my perspective, I kept hearing about the original. And how it is lauded within the horror community. And rightfully so. But I'd never seen it until September at the Charlotte Film Festival this past year. They were able to get the print of the 4K restoration for the film festival. And I went, look, I've got to see this movie. I've never seen it before. 4K restoration tour, I need to go check this film out. I've seen images of it throughout my life and this and that, whatever. I need to go. And I watched the movie, and not for a moment was I terrified. Not for a moment was I unsettled. Which is not to say that it's not a good movie. It's still one I'd recommend. Finding out about the technical aspects that Argento went into to make his lead, Jessica Harper, psychologically, to the audience psychologically, feel smaller and more vulnerable. Have you seen Suspiria?
No.
Okay.
I've only heard of it.
Okay.
A vague knowing of what it is.
Check this shit out, just in one aspect. And this goes to the thoughtfulness of a great director and production. He actually would take things that she would be putting her hands on and make them slightly larger than they would normally need to be to enhance the smallness or the innocence or the naivete of the character, who is an American girl going over to a foreign country to go to this prestigious ballerina school, and all of a sudden weird shit is happening everywhere. And as the story goes on, and there's violent murders and all this other stuff, and there's only really one moment in Suspiria that had me wriggling in my seat in discomfort, and I'm not going to spoil that for anybody. But I didn't walk out of there going, okay, I need the lights on, I'm uncomfortable. I left Don't Breathe, and my adrenaline was pumping from that one. And I know it's not to me it was one of the best horror films of that year, one of my favorite films of that year that stuck with me. But I know it's not, a high dollar film.
Yeah.
But Suspiria I was expecting to make an impression, and it did. But not because it scared me, but because of how it was done. Now, this one, on the other hand, and coming from the guy that did Call Me By Your Name, which was a phenomenal film of last year, and this is what he's following it up with.
2 wildly different films.
Very different films. And it feels like it's going to be set in the same period, that sort of 70s feel that the original had, except where Argento's had these bright, vivid colors, this one's far more tame, much more muted. And it feels like it's going to be its own version, if you will. It might have certain elements, but it doesn't seem to be a beat-for-beat remake. And honestly, I dig the hell out of that with remakes, where we're going to do this, but we're not going to... You've got the original. Let's not do that. Let's do our own thing with it.
Another Psycho. Who, the Gus Van Sant?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I get why people want to do that. Let's modernize it. Let's do a thing. It so rarely works. Ocean's 11 is, for example, with George Clooney, directed by Steven Soderbergh, it's one of the rare exceptions to the remake rule, where it actually improves upon the original, and it takes some things and plays into your expectations of people that know the original, and doesn't follow through on them.
True.
Because, was it Saul? He was supposed to die. Yeah, that's what happens in the original.
Yeah, they don't get none of that money.
No. And in the original film, if you watch it, it's really more about the Rat Pack getting together and having some fun. Now, you can say the same about the actors in Ocean's 11, so anyway, getting back to Suspiria, I'm really excited to see what he does with it. I'm really excited to see the fact that Jessica Harper is showing back up in it. I don't know as who. Tilda Swinton's in it. Dakota Johnson, I'm not fully sold on her as an actress, but I can't wait to see what she does with this. And rumors are that one of the sequences is going to have, I think, Johnson dancing in one room, and in another room, someone is being controlled, following her movements, but in an unwilling way, where she is just this other ballerina is being danced like a ventriloquist doll, marionette, and being bent, broken, and oh my God.
Okay.
That is going to mess some people up. I can't wait.
All right, then. I'm still, like, a good 60% nope. But I think the closer we get to the release date, I think I'm going to watch the original one, see how I feel about that, and I think that will kind of sway me one way or the other if I want to watch the...
I totally get why...
the story.
Yeah, I totally get why it scared people at the time. I think if you get to our age and you've seen some horror movies, this movie, you see why it would have scared people then, but it won't necessarily terrify people now. Unless, I showed it to my son when he's, 8 years old, for example. Yeah, it'll probably mess him up a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think Evil Dead is scarier than Suspiria is. But I don't think Suspiria is a horror film in the way of it's going to psychologically scar you and say the way Hereditary will. But I think it's the kind of movie that gets under your skin. Okay. I think the way that it's shot, it messes with you. And that's why it's as lauded as it is, at least from my perspective. And it deserves all the praise it gets. It just doesn't have the same, I think, impact on horror today from an audience that's used to more Saw. You're used to just people exploding.
People exploding. My number 2 of shit I'm looking forward to, A Star Is Born. Man.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I called it today. That will win Best Picture at the Academy next year.
Can see that.
Which that doesn't happen, I will delete that.
No. In perpetuity. It's on the internet. It's live forever.
Bradley Cooper, directed by Bradley Cooper. Young Gaga getting some screen time up in there. I think this has it's obviously Oscar bait. But man, just kind of I want to be swept up in the journey that those two go on. And that's what it looks like. He's already established dude, and he's trying to, bring in some, at first initially reluctant, and then you just realize she has all this raw talent and power, and hopefully she can use some of that to work out all of her own inner shit she's got going on. I can't wait to see just how this all plays out, and more, where does it all end? Mm-hmm. That's what I'm most looking forward to, is seeing of at the end of it how they progressed.
I agree with you. I haven't seen the original. I've heard the original is fantastic, and I agree with you. It's definitely Oscar bait.
Oh yeah.
It's being released in November as well, isn't it?
I think it's October, November.
Yeah. So it's getting right there in award season.
Mm-hmm.
It's a remake of a beloved film.
Yep.
And it's got a phenomenal cast. I watched that trailer and went, oh, Dave Chappelle's in one scene. Yeah. He's in one scene. I'm going, best supporting actor, no. Right there. That one scene, best supporting actor, no. And, last year, and I will never let this go, Willem Dafoe got robbed. Sam Rockwell did an amazing job in 3 Billboards. Willem Dafoe should have gotten the best supporting Oscar for the Florida Project.
Yeah.
So good. My favorite part of that entire movie. But, no, I agree with you. A Star is Born is, I hope, it's the best kind of Oscar bait, where it's not trying to be Oscar baity.
Yeah.
Where it's not filled with performances that are like, please, Academy. Please.
Yeah.
We're doing this for you.
Sometimes those win and sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
It just have to see how that shakes out.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I think the performances are going to be fantastic. And Bradley Cooper directing?
Yeah, I'm interested to see how he handles this.
Absolutely.
But at least it won't be Crash. What do you have for your number 2? There's another one that's really
my number 3.
Number 3.
Number 3. This is my last one. Creed 2.
Creed 2.
I cannot wait. I missed Creed in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
Missed Creed in theaters. I wanted to see it. I'm probably one of the few people that actually like Rocky Balboa. The last of the official Rocky series.
Yeah.
I really liked what they did with it, and that one I also missed in theaters. But I'm a big fan of Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed his work since he hit my radar, which was probably in Chronicle, and he was one of the better parts of that movie. And realizing that they were going with making him Apollo's son,
mm-hmm.
and then having him be sort of raised by Apollo's wife.
Yeah.
And how he wants to get into business and what that means and this, that, and whatever. Coogler's story, direction, Jordan's performance, it's fantastic. And to see Rocky in a supporting role was actually really good too.
People were pushing to get him for a best supporting actor.
Mm-hmm. And looking back on it, I totally get why. Tessa Thompson's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Tessa Thompson's fantastic. And so I'm really excited to see how they're moving the story forward by making Adonis fight Draco's son.
Yeah.
And I know it's stupid, but I'm not a big fan of the Rocky. I'm not a big fan of the Rocky movies, but Rocky 4 is amazing.
Rocky 4 is untouchable.
Yeah, Rocky 4 is amazing.
Yes.
And so I'm really curious to see where Creed 2 goes with it.
Yeah.
You were saying, I apologize.
Oh, no. I think there has to be more to this in order for it to succeed.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, it's just not just I'm gonna fight the son of the guy who killed my dad. I mean, which that could be good enough, but I think I need something just a little bit more than that. Or I guess I have to see how he deals with how he handles a situation. As he gets swept by his emotions, and he's just gonna be unfocused and raw anger out there. Is he gonna
Adonis, an emotional wreck? No!
Is he gonna try to hopefully have some modicum of self-control and remember his training and all that kind of good stuff? So I think I need just a little bit more.
No, I totally get that. The trailer itself didn't sell me on the movie like say Suspiria did, or in with one of yours, A Star Is Born, because I'm really excited about that one. I really, really am.
Yeah.
And the trailer for Creed 2 wasn't one that made me go, oh buddy, I need to pre-order my tickets now. I was just really excited to see footage from it because I loved Creed so much that I just can't wait to see the return. I just can't wait to see where it goes to. What about you? What's
my
your last
final one, man? Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah!
Yeah, I cannot. It was between that or the Happy Time Murders. And it's gonna be Spider-Man to the Spider-Verse. The animation on this looks ridiculously good. Something that I haven't seen before. It's got a comic book feel without having it in your face. This is a comic book movie animated.
Like Teen Titans Go?
Yeah. I'm interested to see how they handle Miles under Pete Parker's tutelage. You got a little tease at the end of the trailer with Spider-Gwen. It's going to be popping up in there, so that opens up the box of how many spiders are going to be in this movie. For those that have read Spider-Verse, they know it's about people who have become the spiders in multiple dimensions, all having to come together to defeat one person.
Oh, really?
So, I
didn't know that.
Yeah. You get Peter Parker from our universe. You get Miles Morales because Miles was in a pocket universe, and when Stacy came from a different universe, and there's a Russian Peter Parker, like perhaps something like that. In another universe, there's an English punk rock Peter Parker. In other universes, like a 1939 Spider-Man noir who always dresses in black and white and all that kind of stuff.
I know that one.
I know that one.
Yeah, he was in one of the Spider-Man video games. He was one of the alternate costumes you can do.
Yeah.
But I have to ask, because I haven't read it. Miguel O'Hare, does he show up?
Yes!
Yes! Okay. When do I buy tickets?
Yeah, I can't. I'm hoping they just go all in on this. I've been hoping that Sony would use their Spider properties live action wise to build to Spider-Verse like Marvel built to Avengers, but they're going the Sinister Six route. Yeah. Sony's gonna Sony.
Hey, I've got a really great, easy idea.
Nah, we're good. We're good with this. Not quite as good, but not quite as profitable either. But yeah, I'm very interested to see how deep down the rabbit hole Spider-Verse goes. And it looks great. It sounds great. It's the world's introduction to Miles Morales. We got hints of that in Homecoming.
With his uncle.
Yes.
Don Glover.
Yes, Don Glover is his uncle, is the Prowler. So it's.
You're really bad at this. You need to work on this.
No, I got ice cream.
Get back here and fix this.
It's going to be something a little bit different to end the year out, because I think that's late November, December.
No, I think you're right with December.
Yeah, December. So I mean,
looking forward to it.
That knockle, man. Man, some stuff we're looking forward to, man. All sorts of good shit out there.
Yeah, no, there's too many. Anytime I hear someone go, "There's nothing good at the cinema," I'm going, "You're not looking in the right place."
Yeah.
There's too many good things. You wanted me to pick 3 things, and I went, "Why? Why only 3?"
Only 3 because this podcast would have been 4 hours.
Yeah, we don't. Well, no, I got to get home for dinner.
Yeah.
We don't have that kind of time.
So we decided that moving forward, we're gonna do. And aside for whatever topic we're covering for this episode, we're going to do a little bit of debate business as well. A little bit of you versus me. But since I sprung this idea on you mere 20 minutes before we start recording, we don't have a debate topic for this episode.
You don't want to do it impromptu style? You can't think of anything off the top of your head you want to fight me on? I mean, debate me? Please don't fight me.
You're here rumbling and thudding and grunts on the podcast.
As the Hebrew Hammer jokingly
love that movie.
Highlights, there is no Jewish Hall of Famer sports person, so
that is that's the joke in Airplane. Do you have any light reading? I have this pamphlet on famous Jewish sports stuff.
Yeah. So please don't fight me.
No, there'll be no physical altercations happening. Now, because I have another show to do right after this one.
Oh, okay.
We will. But what do we want to have? What do you want to debate for next time we do this little bit of business?
Well, you threw out Tarantino before, and we've got, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood that's coming out, so it could be a debate about Tarantino and either best performances or best films from there. Or are you thinking to...
I said we save that one for roundabout when the movie's about to come out.
Oh, okay. No, that makes sense then. Well, let's see. It's July. We could do a debate next time for Most American.
The most American movie of all time.
Team American World Police! Wait.
Okay.
Everybody's got AIDS! AIDS! And if you don't think my wife and I don't quote those movies to this day, We do.
Oh, of course you do. That's why successful couples make it so.
I have not watched that movie probably since the theater. Maybe once when it came out on DVD.
I've
We
seen
do
it
own
once
it.
since it came out.
But montage. Speaking of Rocky IV,
Yeah.
everybody loves a montage.
So you want to go most American movie?
Sure.
All right then.
Why
I'm
not? The
pretty
most like barbecue,
Red
artery
meat,
clogging,
guns firing
movie.
All right, then, most American movie. We'll be back next episode for that. Before we wrap this business up, we got what we're going to call the Cine Men Challenge. You're going to throw out a movie to me that I must needs see, and I will do one for you, and then we're going to have a great discussion about it next time we meet.
Looking forward to it.
Yes.
So, you want to go first or me?
I'll go first, man. I got a movie for you. It's called Time Lapse. It's an indie sci-fi joint, 2014, directed by Bradley D. King, a cat who I've never heard of before or since, starring people that I've never heard of before or since. Saturdays on Twitter, they do something called Saturday Night Sci-Fi. Mm-hmm. It was hosted by Geek Soul Brother, and then he retired doing it for a couple of years, and now some other people taking over, where they just find something science fiction-y that's more or less acceptable or accessible on Netflix, on Hulu, Amazon, or even like they got old shit on YouTube. And at 10 o'clock Eastern, everybody presses play, and everybody just has like a running commentary using that hashtag, so we can all kind of discuss the movie with each other as we watch
awesome.
it. That's how I saw Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the 1954 version, for the first time. And that's how I saw Predestination for the first time.
Great movie.
That's how I saw Time Lapse.
Okay.
And every once in a while they'll do something like Thor Ragnarok or Jurassic Park in one of the big joints, but they try to keep it or Virtuosity. Did that a while.
Wow.
Yeah.
I haven't watched that one in ages.
Yeah. So I saw Time Lapse on Saturday Night Sci-Fi, and I was like, yo, it's kind of a dope concept. Like, camera that takes a picture, I do believe it's 24 hours in advance. A dude has developed this, and he dies in his apartment, and the people who kind of run the whole apartment are three youngsters, and they find his dead body in there, and his camera happens to be pointed at their room where they actually stay at, and things ensue from there. What would you do with the camera that took a picture 24 hours in the future? Mm-hmm. How would you use that? What are the ramifications from that?
Okay. All right. Yeah, it sounds familiar, but I definitely haven't seen that one. So, all right, I accept the challenge. And by the way, something you said got me thinking. I think I want to not do, and we can discuss this off recording. But you mentioned my man Denzel with Virtuosity. He's got a movie coming out. Maybe it's best Denzel film, because I just rewatched Man on Fire, and everybody's excited about Equalizer 2. I'm like, no, motherfuckers, over here.
Yeah,
he was.
Yeah.
No. Man on Fire is. I'm constantly quoting that shit. Anytime a student comes up to me, it's like, I need some help. I need this. I was like, I wish you had more time. Love that movie.
Yeah, we can do best Denzel performance.
Okay, I think we should do that leading up to the Equalizer, and we can throw it to the folks in Paprika and see what they think.
Yeah. So are we going with the best performance or just the best movie starring Denzel? To make sure that we're 100% clear. Although, most movies with him is starring him with him as the lead.
Yeah, and he's given I think it would be too difficult to pick the best performance, but we can give that a shot. Because he's fantastic even in the terrible movies.
Yeah.
Because Virtuosity didn't win any awards, but he's still good in it.
Sure didn't. All right, so the best Denzel Washington. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, we can put best American movie on the back burner.
Yeah. Maybe next July 4th.
Yeah.
The podcast coming out then.
Yeah, when episode 24 of the Cine Men comes out. All right, then, cool. And what do you have for me, sir, for my challenge?
I have a movie from 2010 called Bunraku. It was directed by a guy named Guy Moshe, which sounds like be right up my alley, but I'd never heard of him before. This is a film that I'd heard about in 2010, but then eventually saw at a film festival in Asheville, North Carolina called Action Fest. Doesn't exist anymore. I'm not entirely sure on the wherefores for that, but ever since I saw it in the theater, I have been proselytizing this film. It is one of my top films, period, favorite films. And if I find out someone hasn't seen this, I go, you must watch it.
Okay.
It is Bunraku, for those that don't know, is the name for Japanese shadow puppetry. It's what they use to tell stories.
Yep.
And the movie uses that to tell its story as a play. And so everything looks like it's a stage play, down to the costuming. It's a little ridiculous, it's a little silly, it's got this incredible theatrical flair that if people are just looking for a straight film, this isn't gonna be it.
Okay.
It very much buys into the kind of story that it is. So when you, for example, you're talking about Spider-Man before, Woody Harrelson is in this, Demi Moore, quick sidebar, Demi Moore, Ron Perlman, Woody Harrelson, Josh Hartnett, a gentleman by the name of Gact is in this. You'll see some other familiar faces from character work and what have you. But when Woody Harrelson is talking to Gact about responsibility and with great power, he tells the story using a pop-up book of Arachnus. Bitten by a spider.
What do you know?
Yeah. So, and of course, don't want to give it all away, but this is dealing with a society that's post-apocalyptic and has gone from being really advanced and all these great weapons to falling back on the sword as the means of control.
Okay.
And if you've got a gun, you can be the most powerful person,
Yeah.
but otherwise there are the leaders of the community are essentially the greatest killers, and that's how they run things. So it's a phenomenal story from my perspective. Not everybody agrees with that, but I think it's worth seeing at least once, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts on it. Whether you agree with me or not, whether you're right or wrong, I can't wait to hear your thoughts.
I get like a Birdman type vibe off of it, the whole like the theatrical, all that kind of good business.
Where Birdman is theatrical in the sense of a deep dive into someone's psychosis. I mean, he's floating in air, or turns into an action film at the end. And I love Birdman.
Yeah.
And Keaton got robbed as well for that Oscar. It's a phenomenal performance, and more Michael Keaton is never a bad thing. But it's not theatrical in that way. It's more like when you're hearing Ron Perlman plays the leader. He's the big bad guy.
Of course.
And he's got a series of 10 killers that do his dirty work. And then he's got red suits that run things. And when you first get introduced to the red suits, there's a voice that goes, "The red suits!" And it's that kind of...
Okay.
It's a little silly, it's a little tongue-in-cheek, but if you buy into the premise that, again, you are being told a story with shadow puppetry, and you can sort of see where the silliness, theatricalness comes into it, whereas Birdman used that theatricality to show us the inner workings of his mind.
Word. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I think that about wraps it up for this first episode, sir. How are you feeling about this?
I'm feeling great. Any opportunity to talk movies with anybody is great. And if I get to do it with you, Seed, it's a delight. So, anytime.
Oh, hush you. All right, that's going to do it for this first episode. We will see you guys whenever we record. And by the way, that's what I was going to say.
Sure.
Spell that movie out for anybody who wants to, who's listening, who wants to check it out.
Oh, Bunraku?
Yeah.
Bunraku.
Boom. There you go. Now you got something to Google. If you're sitting there listening to it, or however you ingest these podcasts. Until next episode, you guys take it easy and have a good one.
Take it easy.